And without further ado, here's Off the Cuff with Chizi Duru. Chizi, what's going on? Welcome to the show.
Oh my God, I'm so happy to be here.
I really love everything that you're doing. So thank you so much for making time for us today.
Of course. We go way back.
We do. It's funny though, because as we connected maybe over the holiday break, we was talking about this, like, yo, we gotta get on set, we gotta make it happen. Because I went to school with your brother, you know?
Yes. You went to school with me too.
Yeah, but I think you were like on the way
behind.
out, and then I was kind of coming in. I don't know what it was, but
we didn't know each other in high school or college.
Yeah.
But we went to both of those same schools.
Which is crazy though too.
Insane.
And we know so much of the same people. And then when I saw you do your thing, I'm like, wow, look at Chizi doing her thing. And I'm like, it's such a beautiful journey just to see where you started, where you're at, and where you're headed. You know, and I think ultimately you're the epitome of what success looks like, right? You are.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
That's it. That's a wrap. We're good. But I think ultimately, I really want to start where your journey all started, right?
Yeah.
I think for somebody who is looking at this, looking at you for inspiration, for someone who dived into content in 2011, which honestly, I wish I started this back in 2011, right? I don't know how much further it could have gone, but we were focused on other things, but I think you saw the vision for that. So I want to talk a little bit more and set the foundation, the red carpet for you to tell me a little bit more, what was that, calling for you? What initially pivoted you to that moment of just wanting to be a content creator? Because mind you, you went to school for biology.
Yes, I got a biology degree, Bachelor of Science, period. I grew up I'm an only girl, so I have two brothers, and I come from a Nigerian American household. And I don't know, I spent a lot of time alone, being the only girl. And I just loved TV. I loved watching TV shows. I loved the Oprah show, the Tyra Banks show. And I just remember, growing up as a dark-skinned girl, right? I had a little bit of meat on my bones, so there was just all of the self-esteem things that I was going through as a young girl. And it was media. Media helped me learn to love myself. And it really planted a seed in me where I just wanted to be that for somebody else. So it just so happened that, I was going through my own natural hair journey. And I always tell this story, but my dad is the reason why I went natural.
Really?
Yes. I literally went up to him one day because I had relaxed hair, which is like chemically straightened hair. And like most Black girls, our hair just stopped at our collarbone. And usually we'll be like, my hair would be longer if my mom never cut my hair back then. But either way, I was complaining to my dad one day and he was like, you should just cut your hair, cut it all off and let it grow naturally.
Just bluntly like that?
Literally.
Wow.
He's Nigerian, so.
Yeah, he just says what's on his mind.
Straightforward. And I was like, what? But either way, he somehow convinced me to cut my hair, and that started my natural hair journey. And literally, I went to YouTube to just see how are women taking care of their hair, because I didn't know how to take care of my hair. My mom also had relaxed hair growing up, so she didn't know how to take care of my natural 4C hair either. And it's just I just fell into this world of women showing their natural hair journey, and it was hard to find women with hair like mine. And anytime I would find somebody that had hair like mine, it would excite me in the same way that when I would watch a TV show and they would talk about things that related to me, it would excite me. So I'm like, wait, why don't I just do this as well so that I could just add to the representation so that when somebody's looking for, their hair type, they'll see it and they'll get excited. So yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Wow, look at that. And what were some of what would you say the pivotal moment was? Was there a clip that you remember that kind of motivated you, on top of your hair journey, that you feel like this is what I really want to pursue, or this is what I also want to talk about?
Just throughout my life, throughout the journey.
Throughout your journey, and then pretty much initially how you started.
I think so. It had to have been. I couldn't have even been doing it for 2 years at that point. It was 2011. So I was 15, 16. Yeah. But I just remember having this feeling. And it's always hard to explain when I think about it, but it was just this feeling, this knowing that this is something that you should keep doing. I didn't know how and I didn't know when, but I felt like it was gonna work out.
Wow.
And I'll never forget, I feel like God does this sometimes when he tries to confirm things to me and to anyone, honestly. So I started in 2011. It was 2013. And one of my cousins, I went over to her house and she just randomly was like, you know, this YouTube thing that you're doing, I feel like it's gonna work out.
Wow.
Mind you, I had like less than 1,000 subscribers. So like there was no reason for her to believe that or say that. But for her to say that, it's like it confirmed that little feeling that I had as well. And I believe it was a seed that God, you know, put inside of me. So
Yeah, because I mean, 15, 16, like it's, you don't know what the unknown looks like, right?
Yeah.
And you're stepping into with this, you know, faith almost, just hoping in something will work out. And I feel like so many of us now in today present tense, right? It's like we're stepping into a journey that we really don't know anything about, right?
absolutely.
And I think ultimately, like being obedient to the calling is super, super confirming that we need to do, right? And I think for you, who were so obedient then and has so been so obedient now, like how has you being obedient like just helped develop you professionally and personally?
You know, it's funny that you say be, like you use the word or phrase be obedient, because at that time I didn't see it as that. I just felt like I was following my passion, doing the things that excited me and I just wanted to do, that I was passionate about. In hindsight now, I can recognize, okay, God did put that inside of me and there was a reason why he had me do all of those things. And what I can say is just, I don't know, following that small, still voice. It can be scary. It can be so scary.
Yeah.
so scary. But when you do, there's this sense of alignment that you feel. And I think it's only when you've experienced it that you'll know it. And I can imagine even with you doing this, you kind of feel that sometimes. There'll be moments where you're like, oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
I'm happy as, like, you probably can't see it, but inside of me, I'm like, I'm just happy. You know, I'm happy to be speaking with you. I'm happy to have everybody around here because this is my happy place.
Yeah, same. So it's like, it just felt like, it feels like this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense. And I've just found that following, you know, that small, still voice, following my intuition, following what I now believe to be the Holy Spirit, has just led me down a path that I actually did not think was possible. Like I couldn't have even dreamed.
Wow.
The life that I'm living now. It's insane.
And let's talk about the life that you're living now, right? Because you go from creating content, which you probably didn't know what content was, right? And you develop so much across the line and so much along your journey. Like, tell us a little bit more about just the fruitfulness of, like, again, planting a seed, following that seed, watering that seed, got to where you are today.
Yeah. You know, sometimes I cannot believe that I do this full time. And I've been doing this full time for 8 years now.
Wow.
8 years in my 8th year. Like we said, I went to school for biology. So I had plans of going to medical school and becoming a doctor. And it's just insane, honestly, the doors that have opened up over the years. I've been able to work with, you know, some of the top brands in the world, grow my audience and my online community. Like, so many women, I think the best part is when women come up to me and they're just like, you made me feel confident about my natural hair. You made me feel confident about my body. Seeing you live out your dreams inspires me to do the same.
Wow.
I was just like, wow, it's insane. And what's wild is that it feels like it's only the beginning. I think that's the most beautiful part.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like it's only the beginning.
Yeah.
That's such a profound thing to say because, like, you know, sometimes you work so hard to get to where you need to be. And then when you get to that space, it's like, yo, I feel like there's still more. Right? And I feel like I could still achieve a little bit more. Like what I thought it was probably isn't all that I can endure right now. I feel like I can endure more. And the fact that you just shared this reminder to us to say, hey, sometimes you go through this 8-year journey of being this creator, but you feel like it's still the beginning.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful just metaphor and perspective.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I wish I could take credit, but I really have to like chuck that up to the wisdom of God, honestly, because there have been many times in my journey where I didn't know where else I could go. Like, what else could I do, right? How many natural hair videos can I make?
Yeah.
How many YouTube videos can I make? How many brand deals can I do? Like, what's next, you know? And I've realized actually it's only in the last 3 years that I've really been growing closer to God. It's given me a lot more insight and hope about the fact that there's more. And it's not even necessarily about achieving like accolades.
Yeah.
And that used to be a thing for me. Like I wanted to achieve more, right? But I'm realizing now the more you tap into, just like how back then I tapped into or I followed that small, still voice,
Yeah.
right? That idea that I had back then, there's more ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just about tapping back into, okay, what is interesting to you now?
Right.
Follow that. So that's what lets me know, okay, there's more.
So would you say there's been moments where you felt like you were stuck?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about those moments real quick, because I feel like, you know, so many of us creators, entrepreneurs, innovators always get moment through seasons of just feeling like you don't know what next looks like, or diving into a passion, and the passion may necessarily sometimes fade away or die out, or maybe there's a new thing in. Like, I want to understand kind of those seasons of you feeling stuck and how were you able to unpack that?
Whew. That's a heavy question, Christian.
And you're like, you show us what side profile to comedian on like occasional basis and stuff.
Yeah. Wait, repeat the question again. That was loaded.
That was, you might have to rewind that. Nah, I'm just kidding.
You don't remember
So
what
pretty
you said?
much, just moments of feeling stuck, you know, and I think ultimately so many of us creators, entrepreneurs, so many of us in seasons, we're always kind of find this moment where we feel stuck. And, you know, I talked about this in other episodes and other conversations, because I feel like there's so many different perspectives that we can learn from. And I think sometimes God speaks to different people in different times for that specific season.
Yeah.
So I think from your perspective, like, have you ever encountered moments where you felt stuck, and how did you unpack those moments?
There have been times when I felt stuck. I remember it had to have been like right before 2020, I believe. Yeah. Business was great, but I was really, really burnt out. And the thing about burnout, I think I'm gonna just say this in case somebody needs to hear this, because a lot of people want to be creatives, right? They want to be full-time creatives. And one thing people never talk about, or that at least nobody ever told me, was the burnout that can come with it. And it's a very interesting experience to fall out of love with the thing that you once loved. So that was something that I was experiencing. And I was just like, I don't know how to keep going. One, because this is my full-time gig. So this is my bread and butter. So I have to keep doing it. And now this feels like work. So I'm really not liking this. And I didn't like that place that I was in. The first thing that I did was I reached out to people. I reached out to people that I felt like could just give me some guidance. And honestly, I started praying more. I had to call on God, because I was like, you know, everything that I thought I ever wanted, I have, and yet I'm not happy. So how is this supposed to work, you know? And at that point I realized, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not the answer, right? Somebody, like, there has to be another answer out there. And I started seeking God more. And honestly, that kind of changed everything. That changed my perspective. It gave me more meaning to what I was even doing in the first place.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did he say to you when you spent more time with him?
Well, the first thing was I realized my purpose. So something that I used to be very obsessed with was my purpose. What's my purpose? And I feel like everybody is like that, right? Why am I on this earth? What am I here to do? And just diving into the Bible, reading about the gospel of Jesus Christ, I realized, oh, I was just created to worship God. That's literally my purpose. So that created such ease for me, because it made me understand that, okay, no matter what I do, I was created in his image, right? I'm perfect already. He just made me to worship him. That's all I really got to do. And then from there, everything else is just an assignment, right? So what I do here, what I do online, reaching and helping women, that's an assignment. It's another way to just show God, to people, right? Give them hope in some type of way. And it doesn't necessarily mean I have to give religious language all the time, because we all have different assignments. But yeah, that kind of gave me, that's what helped and gave me hope.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think ultimately prayer, like a prayer life it gets you to spaces where you're at peace and fully grounded and understanding what the next direction may look like, right? And I think for you, you do such a profound way where a lot of the content is like you're shifting and you're naming God, you're having faith-based content and stuff. Was that a challenge for you to just take that leap of faith of being able to put more of that content out there?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Still is. Yeah, I think, but the thing about it is how I started like creating was always talking about the things that I loved and I enjoyed.
Right.
So me talking about God, and it's just a natural thing that happened because it was a thing that I loved.
Right.
And that's really what being an influencer is at the end of the day, right? Influencers just share the things that they like, that they enjoy, that has helped them, tips and tricks. So that's one of the things that's helped me. So I'm gonna share it.
I love that. And I think you do an amazing job just really empowering so many women and stuff. And I want to kind of spend some time really, tap into more of your story. What is it that you want the women to take away from your platform, right? Because you're putting all this amazing content out there and they have a perception or a perspective of you, but what is it that you want them to take away from everything that you continue to pour out?
Ooh, Christian.
Well, these are not even my questions. This is just me being engaged of just like, this is what God's putting in my heart right now.
Wow. Honestly, I would say I would want women to continue to fight for their lives, right? Fight for their joy. Fight for your happiness, fight for your wellness, because I think so many people are struggling behind closed doors and they don't realize it, right? They'll see me sometimes and they'll be like, oh, she's so happy, but everybody has a struggle. I've struggled. But one thing that I can always say is that I have continuously fought. I just keep fighting. I don't know why, even when I want to quit. Somehow, I believe God just puts it back into my spirit to just get up and try again. So that's what I would say to anybody listening, any woman listening, like continue to fight for your life. Fight.
You feel like you've wanted to stop content creation many times?
Oh my God, yes.
What's kept you going in those moments? I know you alluded to God. Fair enough.
Well, at a point it was money because it's like, I don't got another job, so.
Has there been another pillar or another motivation? I know you mentioned God, reminding you to keep going and stuff, but like, tell us about in those moments, right? Because I feel like there's moments where we want to hit the, call it quits.
Yeah.
Like, nah, I don't want to do this no more. I'm not seeing the reflection of the numbers. The shares are not happening. Like the subscribers are not growing. Like so many different entities that it goes through our mind. It's just like, wow, like it's probably not meant for me. So many of these like things are going through our minds. Like, tell us how you got through those humps.
I mean, you want the truth?
Yeah, please. That's all we want.
I mean, because the truth is that I would stop sometimes. I would stop sometimes, but the way I don't know, the way that my spirit is built, if I'm passionate about something, like I can't stop. Even if I stop for a little while, I'm gonna pick it back up again. That just happens to be how I've always been. Like if you ask anybody, even from like high school, they'll be like,
yeah,
why do you not quit? Like I'm very determined. If I feel like something's supposed to work, I'll just keep at it. But honestly, I think there's a lot of talk about consistency when it comes to social media, right? And that you always have to show up for the algorithm. And I agree, you absolutely do. But I find that consistency is just about doing the same thing over a period of time. So at the end of the day, it's been what, 10,
over 10
15,
years.
almost 15 years, right? And I haven't stopped. Now, had I stopped year 2, okay, yeah, you're inconsistent. But it's like I still kept going.
Right.
Going. And then, it compounds over time. So yeah, I think it's just about, even if you need a break, get back up and do it again.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think, another thing that a lot of creators don't talk about is, and I think you do a great job doing, is mental health, right? And I think all of us go through different seasons of mental health and, you know, seeking a therapist, maybe not sometimes not seeking a therapist at all, or not knowing that there's a way or there's a journey for you to seek help, right? And I think especially for a lot of our households, therapy's not, you don't believe in therapy. Nah, you're good. Like, nah.
Mental health is not even a thing.
Absolutely not, you know? But I think for you, who's just been such a great advocate for it, right? Would love to learn a little bit more about your mental health journey and how, you know, what are some of the learnings that you got away from just pursuing that?
Yeah, growing up, I mean, I had a pretty decent childhood, but I've also experienced quite a bit in my life. And it caused me to have to go to therapy earlier on in my life. So that's actually how I was introduced to therapy. Like, I started going to therapy when I was a teenager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so that followed me. And from college, I think I stopped therapy in college, yes. But then after I graduated, you know, the post-grad blues started setting in. You know, you're just confused about what to do with your life. And I'm just like, therapy, I tried that before and it was kind of cute. So that's how I ended up going back into it. And therapy has been a lifesaver for me personally. I found that I just experienced a lot in my mind and I just needed to talk it out. Like, I needed to understand what I was experiencing and that I wasn't crazy, right? And that it was normal. So yeah, when did I realize mental health was important? When I was a kid. I want to say once I became a preteen. Yeah.
Okay.
That's when I was like, oh, there's things happening here.
And how do you feel like it has been able to just help you alleviate some of those thoughts in your mind now?
Well, it's helped give me grace for myself to understand, like, one, life is hard, right? It can be very overwhelming sometimes. But I think what has really been the greatest takeaway for me is learning, like, coping mechanisms, right? Learning that, okay, if you are feeling a big emotion, like, you can do things to lower your emotions, like go take a walk, go take a bath, go call a friend, you know, instead of like, go do drugs.
Right.
You know?
We don't want that.
So yeah. It's things like that it's really helped me learn better coping mechanisms, because what I think some of us don't realize, or let me not say we don't realize, but what tends to happen is the habits that we pick up as teenagers, right, as young adults, especially if they're negative, more likely than not, if you don't catch it in time, it's gonna follow you for the rest of your life. So one of the things that I'm really, really grateful for with mental health, with taking care of my mental health and going to things like therapy, is it's helped me catch negative habits or coping habits early so that I can change it. Yeah, and it doesn't follow me for the rest of my life.
Has there been one in particular you feel like you caught it early on and you stopped it?
Yes. Do I want to tell it right now?
I feel like you're waiting for this next YouTube drop that you're about to put out. Right, exactly. See, it's always like 2 steps ahead. No, as we kind of transition here and kind of make our way towards the end, I want to really dive into the notion of, like, you know, through the topic of mental health, you know, what would you kind of share to the folks who may be struggling right now and maybe don't necessarily know where to start?
Whew, these are some heavy questions.
I mean, this is off the cuff for you.
I like that. I think if you can recognize that there's an issue in the first place, that's a great place to be, right? Because some people don't even recognize that they have a problem. So, so long as that is something that you are experiencing, right? You know, okay, there's some things that I can change about myself. That is a great place. And don't be afraid to seek out help. When I say fight for your life, fight for your life, you know, because shout out to my parents, love them to death. But till this day, I'll be like, you know, I've been in therapy, and they'll be like, what are you in therapy for? What's wrong with you? You have everything. And I'm like, So sometimes people just don't understand, and you're just gonna have to fight for what you believe in, right? Fight for your wellness and for your life and for your health. So don't be afraid to seek out help. Don't be afraid to turn to God, because God could do it. He can actually do it. And I don't even need to say it for it to sound cliche. Like, genuinely,
I love that. And I've always wanted to ask this question. I feel like this is the right time to ask this question. I've seen how God has moved in so many people's lives, and I've seen it watching your content, and I've seen it from where you started, and you gave us from where you started to where you are. But I want to learn from your perspective, where has God showed up in your life, or how has he showed up in your life?
Whew. Christian, you really got some questions on you. Okay.
This is it's not on my note cards.
This is insane. So what I want to say when I say God, I mean the God of the Bible. I'm just saying.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think the most profound thing for me was that he made me realize that he saw me. Like, I never knew that God could see me. I don't know if you can understand that or if anybody can relate, but I grew up Christian, sure, but I didn't really have I guess a deep connection, right? I didn't understand when people would raise up their hands, and I didn't get it. Like, I was sitting there like, what's going on? And I'll never forget the moment that I realized that he knew me. And then that's when he became real. That's when he became real in my life. And that's what shifted everything for me. I mean, there is a verse in the Bible that says, like, seek me earnestly and you will find me.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of what happened, right? I was experiencing a lot of burnout, and I just started seeking God. I was like, I need God. Like, I got to figure this out. And thankfully I had people in my life that could steer me in the right direction. And it's like, before I knew it, maybe like 6 months later, like, it's like he revealed himself to me, and it shifted everything in my life completely. So yeah, that's how he's shown up for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm always like profound to say, is like, did you see his face? Like, were you there? Like, was there a presence? Like, did you have a feeling? Like, tell us more about that, because I'm always very like I want God to sit right here and talk to us now. Give us the next step.
And there was no physical anything. I didn't hear a voice. It was nothing like that. It was more of like a knowing. Yeah, it was a knowing. I was speaking to a pastor, right? And at that time, I was struggling with a lot of burnout, right? And I just didn't know which way to go anymore. Like, I didn't understand the point of life. I just didn't get it. And I'll never forget, the pastor was just like, your issue was actually really simple. You haven't made Jesus your Lord. You've put your brand, your lifestyle, all of those things are above God. He's not your number one. So at some point, you're going to have to make a decision and pick up your cross and follow him and turn from your old life. And that doesn't necessarily mean like, don't speak to anybody that, that you used to be cool with, but it's just like really just making a decision to follow him for real. And when he was telling me that, I could sense that although, like you said, sometimes God speaks through people. Yes, this physical person was speaking to me, but I could sense and feel in me that it was actually God speaking to me.
Wow.
And the way I can only describe it is I just knew that was a window of grace for me, where God was just like, I'm here. Do you want a cup? So that's it.
That's beautiful. You just never looked back and kept going.
Oh my God. I was like, you got it, because I've tried it all. Don't worry, I got you. So yeah, I made a decision, and it's been 3 years since then.
That's a beautiful story. Thank you so much for just sharing that,
Of course.
I think stepping out in faith and really aligning what's next. And, as, we wrap up here, one of the things that I feel like I want you to lean in on is stuff like, you do such an empowering and inspirational job of empowering a community of so many women across the world, right? And I think ultimately, if there's one message you want them to take away from this conversation today or future conversations, like, what is it that you want them to take away as they see you kind of just evolve into the person you want, you're called to be?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to my mind is that you matter. Your story matters. What you've experienced, right? You matter. Your voice matters. And I think so many times we think just our lives are insignificant and there's nothing that we've experienced that anybody would want to hear about, but you'd be surprised. So I'm only here because I just share my story all the time, right? So I think that's the number one thing that I would tell anyone, that you matter.
That's beautiful, you know. And Chizi, I definitely want to take this time just to give you your flowers for everything that you continue to do, for who you are, how you continue to show up in the world. You know, the countless of YouTube videos, and I'm sure the countless of hours of just producing content that goes into it, you know. But just thank you for being the light. Thank you for inspiring so many women across the world. And just again, thank you so much for your time.
Of course, and thank you, because you are out here too.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're just providing a space for others to share their story. I feel like that's what God called me to do.
Yes, you've always, I feel like, even though we didn't, you know, really know each other across paths earlier, like I would always see you in school and it's like your head was down and you just had a mission.
Mission, yo.
You have always been on a mission. So it's amazing to see just all the things that you're doing here. You are inspiring us.
I appreciate you, you know, and I always flip it to the guests. I would love for you to just elaborate more on who would you give your flowers to?
I would give my flowers to my parents. Yeah, I think their story is so important too, right? And so many people go through things that nobody will ever know about, right? I just happen to be the one that's on the camera, but like I'm only here because my dad decided at 18 to come from Nigeria and, you know, journey to a new land and literally start a new life. So I would definitely give my flowers to my parents for just their sacrifice.
Shout out to your parents for, you know, paving the way, and honestly,
Facts.
their sacrifices did not go in vain.
Amen.
You know, but Chizi, thank you so much. You know, and in the last thought, you know, what's your message for everybody watching this right now?
Choose Jesus.
That's it. Simple enough. Well, thank you so much for your time. Wish you all the best. And what's next for you? Because I know I wanted to squeeze this in there because what's next for you? Like, you have so much going on, so many amazing things. Like, is there anything you could share or just drop the seed here of what you got going on?
Stay tuned to the YouTube channel.
She's trying to get the subscribers up.
Stay tuned to the YouTube channel, Chizi Duru everywhere. Some things are going to be happening.
That's a blessing. We'll wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And there you have it. That was Off the Cuff with Chizi Duru.